We are back once again with Taylor Bradford, back from vacation and back working at the Gloucester Daily Times. How are you, Taylor?
I'm doing well. It's good to be back.
All right, hope you had a blast. We're going to get right into this now. There's a lot of stories to cover. Let's start with the TikTok trend.
So if you've read the news anywhere, whether on TV, Facebook, social media, online at Gloucester Daily Times, you will know that there's a new nationwide TikTok challenge known as the Devious Lick. And this new challenge encourages people, including specific to students, to vandalize school property and then film themselves and post it on TikTok. And unfortunately, this new trend has hit Gloucester High School. It was made aware to us yesterday that some bathrooms were vandalized. I spoke with Superintendent Ben Lummis, and he noted that the damage was minimal. It was annoying and destructive, he said, but not costly, noting that the vandalism included soap dispensers being taken off the wall, a broken hand sanitizer, and there will need to be some repairs to a door. And Assistant Principal Chris Cobbs didn't get back to us, but he did talk to the Gillnetter, the student newspaper, citing that, they were unaware that the vandalism that was caused in the bathrooms was related to this TikTok challenge, but students made it clear to him that this is something that's happening nationwide and is a part of a social media trend. Now, I think that brings up an interesting point of, we never know how things are influenced and why people do it. And this is a really interesting one, a really interesting social studies into kind of how trends work and how they catch on over different places. And so this challenge is a nationwide trend in which the students post the videos of themselves stealing, vandalizing, or showing off items taken from their schools, including, again, soap dispensers have been the most popular one. Fire extinguishers, I've even seen fire exit signs and alarms, clocks, microscopes at science departments, really horrendous acts being done by students all over. And, while the one here in Gloucester High School was rather small, it still does show that, another town being a part of a trend. And this one is interesting to note that the trend on TikTok has been kind of taken down. The social media platform has blocked anything to do with the hashtag or the challenge. If you post anything, search anything. I searched online yesterday to see if I could see any videos. And when you get onto TikTok, it says is that, anything of this nature has been blocked as it's against their handbook and their guidelines. But that's not stopping people. They're changing the hashtag to other things like the diabolical, like the deliberate, like things to try to continue up the trend. And unfortunately, not here in Gloucester, but other places across the nation, students are getting criminal charges for their actions. Multiple news stations noted that these students are getting arrested, accused of vandalizing schools and posting their actions online. And so it's permeating everywhere. And it's one that I never thought something like this would happen, especially because you're doing something that's illegal and then you're posting it, identifying yourself online, and how that correlates. No one should do acts like this ever, whether you're posting it on social media or not. But the question is, why post it for a few views and a few likes? I think that's a big question that I had. And I actually reached out a few months ago. We interviewed a Gloucester resident, Brad Manley, who has 1 million followers on TikTok. And I asked him those questions. I said, what are people looking to gain from here? And he said, it's really quite deplorable what they're doing because, at best they're getting a ton of views. There's no likes, there's no subscribers, there's no followers. A lot of it's just getting some views. And he said, what's the point of that? What have we sunk to a new level definition of success that, all you want is some views for a video of you stealing something from your school? And an interesting point he made is that there's a new trend that's starting out of this kind of awful hashtag called angelic yield, where these same people who are inevitably going to get in trouble for what they've done are filming themselves putting the soap dispensers back into the bathrooms and calling it that they have hit the angelic yield, and it's almost like a reparation of sorts, seeking some forgiveness for their actions, and it has people putting like $100 bills on a toilet bowl and putting things like that. And so it's really interesting. And Brad was saying, he's like, the best thing we can do as TikTok users is encourage the angelic yield, because the crimes have already happened, and we're looking for acts of kindness now, not acts of destruction.
Yeesh.
Was he identified in Gloucester?
I asked Superintendent Ben Lummis about that, and he didn't know. I asked, how many students have been identified, and he said that he didn't answer the question. But what he did say is that students that have been identified will be held accountable to the student handbook that says that these students will be responsible for replacing these things financially, and if need be, suspension.
Mm. Well, and we hope they're included in the angelic yield, therefore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Taylor, someone's got to get these angels to and from school. What is up with this school bus driver shortage?
That's a great transition. And, with all these students going back to school and learning or doing other things, they need school bus drivers, and, they're short. They don't have enough. And this is a story that I've been covering beyond the pandemic. Right before the pandemic hit in February of 2020, I released a story about the bus driver shortage here in Gloucester and nationwide. And then the pandemic hit. We didn't need bus drivers, so they went on break. And now we're back full swing, and there are no bus drivers to be found. And so I spoke with Adam Mayo, who is the Gloucester's school district's transportation director, and he noted that it's due to it's a pattern that they've seen beyond the pandemic, but the pandemic heightened it because these drivers, when they were out of a job due to no school, they went and found other things. They retired, they found other jobs, and now they're in new rhythms. And so it's a lot harder to get these people back now that they're in their new rhythms. They're retired, they're finding other things to do, they've moved away. And so they currently are looking for more drivers, as they only have 13 drivers, and they're looking for 5 to 6 more to help manage their 14 bus fleet. And kind of going forward, the biggest thing Mayo said that's hard to get drivers is the training that needs to be done. They need to complete 28 hours of training in a classroom, 32 hours behind a wheel, in addition to achieving CPR and first aid certification. He didn't know that they would get paid during that time, which is awesome to get paid to get trained, but it still is a lot of time. And he noted that it can take people anywhere from 5 to 6 months to finish training, which is a big chunk of the school year already. And so that's the big question, is how they will get people in, especially as this is not just here, this is nationwide. Rockport, Manchester, Essex is also experiencing the shortage as well. If we look to other cities and municipalities in the Commonwealth, Governor Baker has initiated to have a group of the National Guard come and drive 7D buses or vans to help schools in Chelsea, Lawrence, Lowell, and Lynn. But I asked May, are you guys going to be a part of that program? Are you going to be able to get that help from the governor? And he said the thing is, and people aren't realizing the distinction, is 7D vans are not the same things as the big yellow school buses we think about. And so while the National Guard can drive these 7D vehicles, they can't drive the school buses that Gloucester has. And they don't have any 7D vans. So it would not be as helpful as because they couldn't be able to drive the buses that they're looking to get driven. So that story is continuing. Again, I think this is an evergreen piece in some ways, as we've seen this trend that they're constantly looking for bus drivers. But who knows, maybe we'll see an influx, especially as people look to get more jobs and as we see students just wanting to get to school. And I want to note that Adam said, I think, a great quote that I want to note. He said, drivers are oftentimes the first adult students see when they start their educational experience every day, and the last adult they see at the end of their educational experience every day. And what a rewarding fact that is, to be able to do that and to have that opportunity. And so I think that's just a great perspective from somebody who cares about the job and is looking to fill more seats.
Nice.
First day of 3rd grade, Mr. Canning, my first school bus experience, I'll never forget him. So that's really true. That's really true.
I'm waiting for Uber and Lyft to get in on this somehow. They're going to find a way around this.
Well, as someone said, they seem to keep recreating basic, municipality government by saying, oh, we're going to have a new vehicle that carries lots of people. Yes, that's called a bus. We already have those things.
Right.
But I think Ben Lummis might take a little nudge from the Rockport school superintendent, Rob Lebo, who has his bus driver's license.
Mhm. That's right.
Right. So,
All right, Taylor, we're up against the clock now. Let's get to this kayaking story.
Yeah, so quick story. I think it's a really fun feature story. So a kayak went missing here in Gloucester a while back, and that kayak belonged to Chris Leghorn, who is a Gloucester resident here, and she's a passionate outdoor activist and enthusiast, and just loves getting out on the water, enjoying the sounds of the water, the boats, the seagulls, everything about it. And for her, it's something that really holds a personal story for her, especially as she's been living with a degenerative eye disease that is slowly making her lose her sight. And so kayaking has been a joy as she continues to dive into this new normal and learn what it means to live and recreate outside from a different perspective. So when she lost her kayak earlier this week, it was devastating for her. And as she looks for it and tries to find out what could have happened to her kayak and how she continued to do the sport that she loves, the community really rallied around towards her through Facebook, through other means. She cited that, people were driving their boats out to go look for it every day. They were having drones fly over and look for it. People were willing to give money. And even a West Newbury-based kayaker started a GoFundMe to raise money to purchase her a new kayak if her old one wasn't found. And I'm excited to say that GoFundMe has reached and it exceeded its goal of $1,200 to be able to get her a new kayak. So whether she finds her old one or gets a new one, I think Chris is going to get on the water very soon, and it's an exciting story to hear.
Very nice. Okay, Taylor, do you want to touch upon this fentanyl story at all?
Yeah, I think we'll do a quick just touch about it. I know this is a big one in terms of the technicality about it, but the Gloucester police detectives noted earlier this week that they've discovered that there's been a recent influx of fentanyl, a powerful synthetic opioid that's been circulating the city, and it's been disguised as other drugs. The detective received information that fake Xanax pills are circulating that are often later identified as pressed fentanyl, and believe they found some when they arrested a city man on Friday. And I spoke with Sergeant Sean Connors, and he said if you're not getting your pills from a pharmacy, you need to assume that they are counterfeit and that they might have been tampered with, and it's important to note. And he's seen counterfeit Xanax, Adderall, oxycodone. These three prescription drugs used to treat anxiety, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and moderate to severe pain, respectively, are often sold illegally. And so these counterfeit pills may contain lethal amounts of fentanyl or methamphetamine and are extremely dangerous. And so, fentanyl is unfortunately not new to the city, as we've dealt with the opioid crisis and it ebbs and flows, and everyone is working to try to eradicate it and mitigate its impact in the city. And a big thing is, they're just saying that as they're looking to identify more of these incidents, just to be wary of the prescription drugs that you get, and just know that this is a narrative that's not new to here either, and it's not new to the Commonwealth. Earlier this year, there was also an incident where 4 were arrested for pressing pills to do these fake Xanaxes that just have fentanyl in them. And so just noting that, again, it's an unfortunate story that these things are still circulating, but I also think that the arrest that made another example of the fact that this is still going on helps detectives understand and be able to track and begin to learn a little bit more of where they might be able to find the root of the problem as they communicate with those who are involved. So that story is on our website and on the print edition if you want to find out more about the CDC, the local Department of Health, just kind of their perspective on fentanyl overdoses and what you can do to kind of keep tabs and make aware if you see any instances yourself.
Got it. Great work as always, Taylor. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
bye.
This episode of Cape Ann Today is brought to you by Bank Gloucester. Start here, get there.